Hey folks, welcome back to the Nate Carlisle Show. Today I got my brother Burt back on the show since we went through the name change. He finally agreed to come back on the show, and today, as you well know, both of us, we've both started and scaled multiple businesses in our life. And today we're going to go over, the top 8 or 10 best business practices to be able to hit the ground running. And what you'll learn today is what not to do and what to do. Hopefully mostly what to do, but learning what not to do is very important as well. And this is going to be a great podcast, and so we'd really appreciate if you would go ahead and like and subscribe to this channel and send this to your friends. They all need to hear, what from successful people like ourselves who've started and grown the businesses on what we did to get to 0 to 20 million a year. So nobody would hate to hear that. So go ahead and share that, would you? Hey, Burt, one of the things that really stood out to me with we've started multiple business throughout our life, and we've done some the wrong way and we've done some the right way. And one of the things that I found out is it's super important to establish a strong foundation with, vendors, whatever, like who do you know? So going through life, you will always want to be in a positive way, and we'll get into more of that. But, how important has your previous conversations and your previous relationships been when you actually started the business? How
Well, I'd say from the very beginning in the first business I started, there was previous connections and relationships that made it go and get off the ground. And some of those same relationships moved to the next and the next. So I'd say it's vital that you recognize the importance of relationships and take them with you and use them where you can, and, establish even in some cases friendships and things like that through business partners.
Yeah, and I think that you got to realize that it's not only potential customers, it's vendors, because vendors have such a important factor in so many aspects of the business.
Yeah. Well, vendors, you have like people that can give you advice throughout your career. You have, insurance companies maybe, or legal advice, all sorts of walks through life.
Yeah, and we'll get into those points. I think we ought to jump into the number one, I would say, and it's in order. Establish your clear vision and what's your goal in this, what's your goal in the business. I'll start it off. When I started Tecton, my vision was to grow and establish a business that offered opportunity to people. That's why I started. I had no intent to start a business until I realized that I had no opportunity in the business I was in. And so that's one of Tecton's core principles, is opportunity. It's how we grow leadership. It's how we give opportunity. And then my goal really was to grow people and be a part of that, and become wealthy, get money so I can create wealth, so I can create freedom and have and bring a sense of comfort to my then future family in that. So what do you think on number one there?
Establishing a clear vision, I think, is very crucial, important, because if you don't know where you want to take the business, then it will go in directions you didn't intend it to.
Yeah, it's just like shooting arrows up in the sky, hoping they come down and kill the deer.
Yeah. So vision is, I guess that's where the foundation principle in the beginning is, what do you want out of it? And then from there, establish the steps along the way.
Yeah, one of the things that both you and I have done since we were young, and credit to our dad for this, is playing chess. Like we've known chess and all that from a very young age, and it just teaches you strategy.
Yeah, thinking 4 or 5, 10 moves ahead, and also having a backup plan because you see other moves coming, and backup plans, and that's a good analogy. Chess game. So.
And another thing that was very important to me was who was going to be my team members in this. Another word for it is stakeholders, like who was going to benefit from me building a business. And in the first, for me, it was my silent partner. So he invested a small amount of money in me, seed money. And but before he actually did that, I made sure, like, what's your goal? Like, what would you expect from this company? Because I wanted his whole heart in it, even though he was a silent partner. I don't want to partner with somebody that doesn't give a shit about the company. So we really, I feel like that was a huge part of my launch. Is whoever was involved, we made sure our goals aligned. We made sure that we were all focused on the outcome of a successful, money-making, profitable business.
Mm-hmm. I think sharing that vision, if you're going to partner with somebody, you have to share a vision, and you have to have a lot of commonality in achieving that business and the way that you would move forward to achieve the vision that you shared in the beginning.
Yeah.
So.
Well, let's move on to number 2, because I really think that this had such a big part in just the foundation, and so many people trusted me because I had this foundation with Tecton. Is number 2 is understanding licensing and business requirements. Look, guys, if you don't have your business licensing in order, if you don't have your in construction, your trade license in order, if you don't have your insurances correctly, when you reach out to get plans to bid on and try to sell yourself, sell your service, get some work, they're not going to have confidence in you. But if you have all that stuff in order, they're going to automatically feel like, yes, this guy's new, but he's for real. He's doing all the right steps. I don't have to worry about if he's going to be missing the steps on my project. So it's really important you have that foundation. Not only that, it builds the relationships with those key people, insurance, accounting, lawyers, all that. So let's dive into a little bit about that.
Well, because we have to have those things in order to work with other trade partners. Like, I remember when I started my first business, I had no clue how to go do that. So what did I do? I went and found somebody that could help me do it. So, I mean, a lot of times we get into certain professions because we know how to physically do that work, not because we're great business people. That we have to learn along the way.
Not to interrupt you here, but I think it's a key point. You say you went and found somebody that did. Did you partner with that person?
No, I didn't. I just employed their services to help with it. Okay. So they got it set up right and started the process. And well, that's not true. That was the second business, the very first one. Then there was a business partner, but I didn't even know what I was getting into on the first one. I went in because I was the worker and the one that knew how to make the product and build the buildings. So.
Well, and I thought that's the first one you're talking about, but it's so important. It's like, if you don't know one part of the business, partner with someone and get them to have skin in the game. Why? Because maybe you don't have a lot of money to employ them at a high wage. So you partner with them, they do this part of the business and you do this part of the business. And partnerships is a whole nother thing we could get into, but not in this episode.
Yeah, I think that's a controversial thing, partnerships. Like, some people don't want partners, and I've had partners in not the whole time in the businesses I've started, but I've ended up with partners because, just like you said, skin in the game and making things happen that way.
Yep. And another reason, one of the big reasons for just cultivating this relationship, like for Tecton, I went and found an insurance guy, I went and found an accounting guy, and I went and found a business lawyer that could help me draft my articles of incorporation and that. I went and found those people. Now, lawyers are unnecessary until you need them, so I just found them for a minute. I didn't cultivate a relationship with them, but I cultivated a relationship with the insurance company and the accounting people, because you have to stay up to date on year to year. These tax deals, all this stuff changes, insurance requirements, all these things change on a fly. And you want the professionalism of people that know it, and that's their job to keep up to it. And so I've had the same insurance agent, and I've had the same accounting person since the beginning. And you may say, well, you're probably paying too much. Well, no, I'm not. I've priced them. I price them every once in a while. They know I price them. And, it's just we have a really good friendship. Like Brad, our insurance guy, he's really cool. He's fun, and he doesn't Jew us at all. So I think it's super important to have those key people as a relationship. And with you were in the business on your latest business, cultivating that relationship with the banks, because you were having so many so many interactions with them. And so
all my clients and stuff, and then most of my clients would have to be going through a bank and stuff like that to get their homes built and stuff. So I've met a lot of financial people.
Your reputation with the banks, I would assume, helped the owners out. Like, oh, you're having Burt do this job?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely, we'll loan you or whatever.
Yeah, so it gave them more confidence and knew that the customer was at least in good hands.
Yep.
So
I it's just super important to have those, just the back of the room, whatever, back of the scenes relationships that keep up on all the requirements. Let's move on to number 3, building the trust and integrity. It's one thing to feel like you have trust and integrity, and it's another thing
to prove it.
And for customers to think you have trust and integrity.
Yeah.
That's what I found out. But I learned the lesson the hard way a couple times, is because I look at myself, and it's just that I know I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do. I'm going to say what I agree to do, and I'm not going to agree to something that I know I can't perform. And all that ties into integrity. I have integrity. Well, what is the persona of your customers? So you gotta intentionally get feedback from each one of your customers. And for me, when I realized that I was dealing with some of my customers not thinking I had the integrity I needed, like I started going back to previous customers before I started the company and saying, did I rub you the wrong way? So I started going to getting feedback from previous friendships from other companies, and it helped me realize what my current customers were dealing with. So I think you speak about that a little bit. I'm sure you have ran into that.
Trust is kind of earned. Like people can think they're going to trust you and be excited to start a working relationship with you, but you have to perform in a way that builds trust. And sometimes you're using, trust that you've built with other customers, and then you can use them as a reference. And that builds trust in and of itself for other customers to take a chance on you. Yeah. And sometimes, that takes multiple efforts, multiple different separate times of putting yourself in front of the same person if you really want to establish a working relationship with them. So trust and integrity is something that's earned and not just given. And unfortunately, we work in a field where trust and integrity is sometimes broken by the lack of performance or doing what you say you're going to do.
Absolutely. There's you that feels like you're trustworthy and you have integrity, and then there's your customers that feel like you're trustworthy and you have integrity. Those oftentimes, not until those things align are they powerful. Like when you know it and the customer knows it, then it's powerful. But when you know it and the customer doesn't feel it and doesn't know it, it don't work. Polar opposite.
Yep. And you can tell them all you want, but until they see it, then they don't know it.
Yep. And it's got to be you personally as a new business owner. You personally have to sign on that dotted line of trust and worthiness. It can't be your company. It can't be your team. It's you. You're new. But as soon as you get that aligned, then your team will really just fall right into place with that and realize, you know what, he's trustworthy, he's confident, and it takes a really bad team member to not intentionally try to carry that trustworthy and that reputation up. And at that point, you get rid of them. But it's important that you get on that page. You can't depend on one of your team members to go out there and be that trustworthy person. You've got to become that trustworthy person, and then your team follows.
Yep. I think I've made a few mistakes in that regard, like just thinking that we got the ball rolling and it's just going to keep rolling in the right direction, when you got to follow through. And you had mentioned it before, is getting feedback. Like, accept the feedback that you're getting from your customers, especially once you start growing and it's not you physically performing the work or you running the relationships and stuff. You almost want to go to the back from the back door and ask your customer, hey, how's it going still? And is your experience still great? Because I feel like the satisfaction of your customer, no matter what industry you're in, is something that'll make or break you from the get-go.
I very much believe that. We're going to move on to hiring the right people. Hey, look, folks, if you're not hiring the right people, it will take you down. It will undo your reputation. It will undo the integrity you have. And I've learned this the hard way too many times. People undermine you, and they do it without even consciousness. So you have to be the one you have to be the one that realizes that's what they're doing. Most of the times they're not going to even know that they're doing it until it's done. So if you have that gut feeling that you need to keep a close eye on this person because there might be an undermining, super important you do that. And have 3 or 4 interviews. I've hired 3 great people in the last, I've hired more, but 3 in particular that I hired after 1 interview. So this last one, and quite honestly, it's been the best one thus far, I interviewed him 3 different times. And I brought in other team members to help me interview him.
Yeah.
We went golfing with him and spent 4 or 5 hours with him to get a feel for that, and in just because golf, I mean, you're frustrated or you're good, you're you're competing, so you get a lot of experience with that individual. So give us a little bit about your experience on hiring people.
That's probably one of the areas where I have learned the hard way or failed the most at, like hiring people without there's a lot of aspects to it. Sometimes you hire somebody that would be great at it, but then you don't have a good training program. So if you hire somebody that would otherwise work out, but it failed because you didn't have a good training program, or you didn't, onboarding wasn't right, or there's many different things that could affect the outcome of that hire. But getting the right people on the bus, as the good book says, good to great, getting the right people on the bus is, I think, vitally important, especially in the long term. Training them to do things how Like if you have your procedures and the way that you do things, then training them to do it that way is the only sustainable way to do it. I've convinced myself, because like I said, I've made probably the most mistakes in this area in business, and trying to grow and put your product, an extension of your product out there. If we don't train the right people and have it done the way that your vision in the very beginning was intended, then I think that's a crucial part of it.
And it's funny that you brought that up, because that's actually our next topic, is training people, having invest in your team development. Man, I don't know how many good people I have wasted because I didn't have the correct training. I didn't have the system and processes. They were all up here in my head. And it's not until I figure out how to get them out on paper and in a training system can they be repeated. Yeah. And so many people get so discouraged because it's just like, well, how can I please you, Nate? Like, tell me what you do. Tell me how to fucking do it. Like, how can I please you? And it's been a hard lesson the last year and a half. It's just like, damn, do I really even have a training system? And I quite frankly don't. But that's changing quickly, because that's in the office. Besides keeping the workflow going, that's number one important item right now, is to get our training systems, put our SOPs in a training system, and all that stuff. So that we flowed right into that very well.
Yeah, I feel like over the years I've lost a lot of good help because they didn't have a training program for them, or they didn't understand how I liked it. And sometimes, look, we're not really the best trainers ourselves, and finding a way to offer them a good training experience, like onboarding. And I think it's important to explain to your new employees and new hires what it is that you expect out of them, mm-hmm. and work together to achieve the purpose of their position.
Yeah. And it appears that all that will be taken care of in the right training system. It's just like, oh, we're hiring you for this description. Here's the training videos, and here's what I expect from you. And those training videos can do both of that. I think that's such powerful points there. Let's move on to, like, and this goes hand in hand with training your team and having the team, but it's like, encourage collaboration and teamwork. And you need your team to collaborate. And especially if you're not good at training like we haven't been in the past, is it's just like, well, if you're frustrated, let's collaborate, let's talk, let's communicate through it. When I realized this was so important, then I did my next order of books or notepads, and I says, from head to paper, for a reminder to me in the beginning, or me especially, if it's in your head, it needs to be on the paper, because that's the only way you're going to have the collaboration, is to figure out how to get it out of your head. Or either that, or your expectations are going to be so high, but your communication was so low, so your expectations weren't able to meet. Yeah. Because of your communication was so low.
Well, and I think sometimes then clarity comes at a moment's notice, and it's sometimes few and far between when you really have a good idea, or really have something that you want to integrate into your vision and into your goals. And getting it down on paper is by far the best way to bring it back up into your mind and express it to the team and share it with the team with clarity. So, yeah. No, I love that.
Well, and one more point. To you business owners that have everything in your head, you've got to find someone in your organization that will not accept you saying, no, I don't have time to tell you that. no, I don't have time. Like, that individual needs to just say, no, you can't afford to not have time. To spend the time and pull that out of your head. Because that's the only way you're going to be repeatable. That's the only way you're going to scale. Let's say you as a business owner took your business to 3 million or 5 million. How are you going to repeat that if it's not out there?
Well, you've mentioned the word before, but I call it the 3 C's. Communication, communication, and communication. So I don't remember where I heard that first, but it stuck with me, and it's so true. Like, you can't just, you can't even hand a project off to the next phase without great communication and paperwork and, information. The transfer of information is a huge part of construction, because there's the beginning phases from the first time somebody has the idea to until somebody's living in the building or utilizing the building that you built. And there's so much communication in between that. It's crazy. Yeah. The same as in business. The same as in the workings of a business.
Yep. And so the next thing we're going to go on to me, is the ultimate improving tool. There's nobody out there that goes from point A to point A plus without this. And that's feedback. You have to be good with feedback. And you have to figure out ways to get feedback. Because people don't just offer feedback. You have to figure out ways to get their feedback. And you mentioned earlier, like, almost go through the back door and get their feedback. Yeah. It's like, that is the most important thing. You're not going to go from good to great without feedback.
Yeah.
Feedback from your employees, feedback from your customers, feedback from your vendors, feedback from your partners. Yeah. Most importantly, as a partner, who I strongly believe in partners, you need feedback. Everyone needs feedback. Even Absolutely. If you are the majority owner, you need the feedback.
And if you don't like the feedback, just change, like, fix it. Have the courage to make the change and fix it. Sometimes conversations are hard. If it's an employee that's a customer's not happy with, or if it's the way the job's going, have the courage to fix it is my suggestion. Don't let it go. Too long before you address the issues, because that's a very vital key part to success.
Well, and I'll go one step further, and if it wasn't clear, all you key employees, if your boss doesn't want your feedback, you're in the wrong room. So if you're scared to give your feedback, number one, that's probably your issue, and you need to get over it. And then once you get over that feeling that you're scared to not give the feedback, and you go give the feedback, and they don't like it, you're in the wrong room. You quit. Yeah. Go find someone that's good with your feedback, because that's the people that want to grow. People can't grow. People can't go from here to here without feedback and knowing what's keeping them down here.
Yep. And I've always appreciated somebody that would come after a short tenure working or something, or you just hired them a month or two ago, and they're like, hey, how have I been doing? Like, asking you as their employer or their boss even, just how am I doing? What can I do to do better? That's for all you people out there that want to grow in your company. Like we've said, the feedback is crucial, and for you to go ask for it, that's a big step in the right direction.
That says so much. As an employer that employs a lot of people, if that employee wants feedback, wow, I'm going to hang on to that employee for a long time at all costs almost, because that's the employee that has his goals right, and he wants to build a better life for him.
Yep.
And so I just flood into those guys, and it's so honorable. Number 8, I really wished I could do this better, but recognizing and reward efforts. as a high energy business owner, CEO that's just looking to grow and grow. It's just like, oh, you achieved what you were supposed to do. All right, well, let's go do another thing you were told to do. Instead of taking a moment and rewarding them for achieving something, encouraging them. I have the excitement that they were able to achieve what they were supposed to do, but recognizing it, giving thanks. It's like, I think that there was a moment a couple days ago when you were at my house and my wife cooked us some good food, and I just ate it and walked out and went and started playing. And as I was walking out, I heard you say, "Thanks, Tammy, for doing this." And I was a little embarrassed. But if I would have taken the time to say thank you, even though she knows I'm thankful, but I don't really express it very often. And so it's like, but if I would express it, then it'd be like, it'd be like, fuck yeah, it'd just be really great if I would just be more thankful. And I think that's really where it starts. To recognize and reward efforts is just be grateful for people's achievements.
Absolutely. I think that goes all the way back to, getting recognition from your parents and stuff growing up. But people love to hear that they done a good job. They need it. Some people need it worse than others. But for me, it took me a long time to realize that I wasn't complimenting great work or wasn't rewarding great work. And I think it's very important for the growth of your business to reward good work. And if not just a compliment, money talks, even sometimes a little bonus to make sure that they know you appreciate it and that's repetitive. And I think, like you said, it's a crucial part to team building and everything. Like once people know that they've done a good job, they're gonna repeat the good job.
Yeah. And I think that's super important. I don't feel like we need to sit here and hound on that. Just be grateful, business owners. Your guys are, whether it looks like it or not, they're making a big sacrifice for you. They're coming into work, they're doing what they're doing, and they're making that sacrifice for you. Extend some gratitude. It'll go a long ways. And then I'm gonna bring this back around. We've talked about this, I know, but this importance, starting out a business, it's outrageously important because you're asking. In my case, you're asking general contractors that have a firm foundation, and they're not gonna hire someone that doesn't have their firm foundation either. And so I'm going to bring this back around, not to waste a lot of time on it, but hey guys, develop strong relationships with accountants, insurance people, and those two. I honestly think those two
legal advice. Like you got to have good relationships with people. Like you need a document created, or you need some special things done. Like even legal advice, I think, is important to have good relationships and people that you can just call that know you and know your business a little bit, to be able to say, hey, this is kind of coming down the pike. What would you suggest I do? Like, what are some things that we can either to protect ourselves, whether it's a contract you're trying to sign and you want some clarification on it, or you just, someone to review some of your day-to-day legal documents is very helpful.
Yeah. And I would argue that someone with money, for me, it was one of my silent partners that had the money. I had that great relationship with him. So when I needed to dip into a little bit of cash to keep going, I had that relationship. But for you, maybe it's the bank. Figure out how to have a line of credit, or go pull a HELOC on your house. Use that as a line of credit. But have a relationship with money. And I'll get into that one of these times, but people underestimate the need for money, especially growing a business. You're not always going to have it. And then, and we, through all these 10 steps, then I think you've noticed the importance of focusing on customer relationships, feedback, Are they satisfied? Are they not satisfied? If they're a great customer, even if they're not a great customer, but you need them to be a great customer, send them gifts. Send them little note cards. I don't have any in here, but we have these special built feels like felt notepads or postcards that we send out to our customers. Thank you. Little things like that. Just ensure that they know you're thinking about them, and they know you appreciate what they've done for you.
Yeah, you care and you're grateful for what that you guys have. The relationship has value. They know the relationship has value. Look, if you're starting a business, like I've made a lot of mistakes along the way, and I would suggest don't get down on yourselves if you make mistakes. Mistakes everyone makes them. That's how we learn. That's how we grow. So just get back up, identify the mistake, and have the courage to fix it. That's my main advice if you're going to start a business and you want it to last a long time.
Amen, brother. I think that the fact that you have the determination to get back up, get back on the horse, and get back in the race, and time is the fear of time is your worst enemy. The value of time is your best ally.
Yep.
And with that, thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see you next week.